This video will be about the client side, and we will start with the services in Angular. But before we do that, let's have a brief introduction into Angular. First, let's link it to our architecture. This is our architecture. We have a server part, we have a client part. On the server we have Mongo with Node, Express and Mongoose, with routes, middleware, models, schemas and NoSQL. On the client side we will have the browser and we will have model view control, and we will use Angular. JavaScript does lack some structure to make it easy to make big or bigger or structured applications, and Angular is one of the attempts, and we will use Angular in these movies. And the link between client and server is REST with JSON. We already discussed that. So now let's go to Angular. As you have seen here, we have client-side MVC. Server-side MVC, in my opinion, doesn't mean anything at all because there is no view on the server. Nobody will ever look at it, and sending complete HTML pages instead of JSON reduces the amount of traffic with about 95%. So that will reduce traffic quite a lot. Okay, Angular. We only do the model view and control in Angular, or we use Angular to structure our application with model view and control. So we have a model, that's the data, and a remote, and the persistency of the data will be in the database. We'll use REST for that. And to get data on the page, and for now in this version of Angular we will use scope, that's in here, and scope is the glue between controller and the view, and below a controller is a factory or service, and below that is somewhere data. Okay, the view has templates, that's HTML files and CSS, for instance. It does have controllers, and the controllers are define the view logic. That are the controllers. And the business logic, that's done with the servers, with the services or factories or providers. We come to that in a later stage. For now we are talking about the services. So this is the model view control. The anatomy of an Angular application is we have an Angular application that has one or more modules, a configuration and routes, that's routes in the browser, we will see that, and view with directives. We skip directives for now, that's to create your own HTML tags, and the controller is the view controller, and we have factories, and that is the business controller, and below that is the data. Okay, so let's go to our code then. Open client, we see JavaScript, partials and index.html. This is our page. So what we have to do is create an Angular app from this HTML page. That's this part. So how we make an HTML, how do we make this page into an Angular application? What we have to do then is add Angular app. Let's call it my app. I'm using data dash. That's not necessary, but these micro tags made it a little more structure. Well, okay. So we're done now with this Angular app. Next is what should we do next? We are working on the services. So working on the services, In JavaScript we have a few files. We have our application, we have controllers, that's the view logic, and we have services. So let's start with services here. So now I have created a service. My app is the application. Services, so I'm using services for this. The factory I'm using, the name of it is books service. That requires some resources like resource and HTTP. If it starts with a dollar, then it's an identifier within Angular. And this factory, you can see a factory, where is it? Because there's a little difference between services, factories and providers. What we are using is service factory, so basically we are using this one, and you know these from just the object factories, that it's returning this object. So I'm creating an object and it's returning this this resource as an object. So you will be provided with the value that is returned by invoking the functions reference passed to this module factory. Okay, I have a get, save, query, update and delete method. We have seen these methods, get, post, put and delete. I will skip this one to explain it, and this is the URL. This is the URL that will be that we read on the service, on the server. So the route on the server, that's this one. It's not a route on the client. This is the route or the REST URL to the server. That's this one. Okay, that's the only thing we need in this service. And to make that a page, we come to that. Oh, that's well, that's of course that's important as well. We will have some libraries to include, and these libraries are already in the these are already provided to you, and we will use some application related files, and that's our app.js, the controllers and the services. We need these as well, and these are the last lines in our body, so be sure that you make note of that. And that is our service, our Angular service. And the next we will talk about is the controllers in Angular.